back. Hope the break wasn't too long. We're in the Brazilian region. Fawn the Legend and Gore Miser bringing it back at you once again. And I'm excited to see these two teams play because Brazil is a region where I feel like I've said this a lot, but I feel like it's still sort of true. There's a lot to be proven there. I mean, Parallax is the number one, the first seed that's there, and a lot of these other teams have sort of been struggling to move up to the top. And I mentioned that because we'll be watching In Control versus Tempest team.
Yeah, Parallax, the more difficult team, I think, to just take down, period, right now.
Right.
It's just difficult all around. It was difficult last time around, and that was when they had Freeze God on them. Even though they're coming in with a different set of players, they still have a lot of their same strengths. And so everyone's playing catch up to them, as you had kind of highlighted. And that's where I think today's matchup comes into it, specifically because In Control Gaming, at least in phase one, looked like they could keep up with them at least a little bit. I mean, everybody was having trouble fighting them. It came down to Carnage Gaming and In Control really fighting for that second place spot. And the weird thing about phase two is we've somehow ended up in the exact same conversation where we're In Control, this team that has been a
Mhm.
dominant force in Brazil for a while, is still fighting with Carnage to try and control that second place spot.
Right, exactly. And I think it's really, really going to come down to these two teams really trying to figure out what's going to work for them. Because sure, they may not be the top teams of the region, but it's still something that you have to keep in mind. Brazil, they fight hard and they work really, really hard as well. I mean, we saw that with SSG being the case last year, right? I mean, a very, very
Yeah,
prominent team overall that was focused in the Brazilian
man, they
region.
were so good.
A lot of Latam, a lot of Brazil players being there. It's just overall great region to watch. Tempest are going to ban Fishgate. Whoa, Fish
You got to
Market
get
and
rid of Fishgate.
Orders, and then In Control is are going to get rid of Frog Isle and Ascension Peak. Those are going to be the bans. Yeah, Fishgate and Waters Market is what they're going to get rid of on the side of Tempest team. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think both of those pretty solid. Again, Frog Isle is the one that was. It was surprising that last map it was Jag and not Frog, right? I think
right.
Frog Isle gets banned more often just because of the consistency it has in being able to be a 4-0 map that comes through. Ascension, I think, at least for In Control, it's. I don't want to say it's the new hotness, but it's kind of the new hotness. I mean, Frog,
Right.
it's been gone for a while now, and so
Yeah.
trying to jump back into it, the fact that we got to see it last set at all was kind of surprising. I won't be surprised if it's kind of pump the brakes on that one. It won't be around too often, similar to like Fish and Warders, Bizarre when it was around, things like that. Just because of the fact that they're the more, let's just call them outlandish maps. Teams aren't as good on them because they haven't been around as long as some of the others. But I'll say you gotta get a good Ascension peak under you. Last year in the PPL, that was one of the best maps to watch. I expect it to come true here when it comes to finals. A lot of teams will be looking for that in the PPC.
Yeah, and I think that's what you need to keep in mind, especially when you look at this region as a whole. Once again, Parallax, one of the top teams in the Brazilian region right now, and definitely a force to be reckoned with. But Tempest team and In Control, I mean, you get rid of Fish Market. Of course, it's a map that most people aren't going to want to play on. Waters Gate, Isle, and then you get rid of Ascension. We just saw it last set. You would have expected that they would have let it through this time, but Brazil says no way as we head right into the picks and bans of this very, very first map that we will be heading to. It's actually going to be Jaguar Falls. It's not banned. It was banned last set, not this set. And Brazil are going to take that one easily.
And I love me some Jag Falls. This is one,
Yeah,
and I'm looking at this the same way. Tempest team, let's face it, they haven't been doing too hot so far this phase. I'm not sure if they've got a win yet, even under their belts. Maybe one.
mhm.
And I called it, I believe, the last few weeks, the OS Valamansa effect. So if you watched phase one, that makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense. Otherwise, the explanation for it is they'll make a game 3-3. They will look competitive in every game they play, and they will lose every game they play anyway. And that's always the downside. They won't win a set. Maybe they'll win a map once every few sets. And this is one where I think if you're In Control and much like Clan Fiesta, you're trying to prove yourselves going into this championship that you deserve to be number one. This needs to be a 3-0. This needs to come
mhm.
through, and you just need to wipe the floor with them. If you're Tempest team, you're doing everything in your power. And just get a win, man. That's all you want. That's all
Right.
you care about at this point is to get some numbers on the board for you. And I think that's what they're going into for this. Jack Falls is a really solid map to try and turn things around.
Yeah, Genos, Zen out of the pool. Vivian is going to be banned first on In Control Nation as they get rid of Torvald and they leave Corvus open. Tempest team could take that one for themselves if they feel like it, but it's going to be the Makoa. They didn't get rid of the Makoa, and the Corvus are both open, so it makes sense. Lock them in first, and you got yourselves a very strong off tank to deal with a lot of squishier targets that can get bursted super easily.
I don't know where I was when that discussion happened that Makoa went from literally unplayed to first pick. But hey, I'm here for it. Like I kind of missed him. It's really weird. Uh, Similar to Khan, right? There's a period of time where him and Makoa they just dominated everything. I mean, if they
Right,
weren't first pick or banned, then you were doing something wrong, right? Your team was going to
right.
lose because they got through. And so I'm happy to see that they're starting to make an appearance. I think I like Rom's a little bit more because he's still kind of niche for a lot of these teams, whereas Makoa seems to get locked up, at least as of now, across every region. To see if Tempest can work with it. Because again, he has become a little more close knit to what he used to be. He's not going to
Right.
necessarily solo you the way that I think he could, but he's in the same neighborhood he's been all year, which is if you miss that hook, then you're not really in the engagement for the next 10 seconds or so. You kind of have to play it patient, hope that you stay alive, get the cooldown back, and then go back in.
You know, the hook is pretty important. I mean, even though they didn't win last time, we saw Interstellar bring out the hook a lot to stop Alex on that Drogo. So we saw how much it paid off for them in the long run. Incontrol Nation are going to go for the Inara here. Strong point tank. That's what they want in their pocket. Ashe, Corvus, Inara, and Droxus. You got a pretty sustainable comp here. Cassie is the only backliner they have so far. What do you try and draft to deal with this Androxus core?
To deal with an Andro, that's a difficult one. On this map, honestly, like it's really weird because it's not necessarily a matchup I think that she wins consistently. I want Maeve here, but I think that's just because I want Maeve. Look, it's me. I probably want Maeve on every map. Like I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think she's just good, so there's a good reason to lock her in. But you could also go with a different flank that maybe has some strengths. Maybe not necessarily for the matchup again in the 1v1 with Andro, but just in trying to bring the same amount of control that he will in this matchup. Sky has been this wild card in North America, at least. She's been coming through and pretty hot handed on Jag Falls. We'll have to see whether or not Tempest team can live up to the same standard that everyone else is set for.
Yeah, and I think it seems like the Sky and Willow are how they're going to end things here on both drafts. The Willow has plenty of versatility here. We've seen that character be picked in certain scenarios and a bunch of different maps. It's a beautiful map for her to be played on. Sky, maybe not so much. Maybe the versatility isn't quite there. Can you give me a quick rundown of why the Sky here and nothing really else? Are they trying to burn through that Anara quick enough? Are they trying to burn through Ash? Well, what's the mindset?
So it's this weird thing, and again, North America's been doing it a little more often. I'm almost ashamed,
Mhm.
like sad that they're forfeiting some of their matches because I feel like we would have been able to see it otherwise. But she comes in with this weird. It's kind of an uncanny valley of flanks. She's really
Right.
good at shredding tanks. She's pretty solid at dealing with, I think, Andro, Willow, and Corvus here as well. Like the damage number should be there because her stealth lets her get into the backline pretty easy.
Mhm.
So theoretically, you can chase them down. But she also has this weird kind of pseudo healer
Right.
aspect to her that brings in some numbers. I think that's going to help out Khan, Makoa, and Cassie. So she's going to be playing this flex role again. This is up to Tempest team to show us if they can make it work the way North America has, where she has like a
Mhm.
70+% win rate, or if it's just going to fall flat on its face.
Yeah, you already have Sky and Willow being the final picks here. Both comps are looking good, but on that's them on paper. Let's head into Jaguar Falls and see how both of these teams are really going to use these comps to their advantage. And Dark Gifts Corvus, that's interesting. I'm sure he's going to change that at the last second, but the Smoke and Dagger is what you mentioned. If
Five,
anything, I just got
four,
told no. They're
three,
actually going to stick
2,
with
1. Show
the
no
Dark Gifts
mercy.
Corvus. That's interesting to see that.
Yeah, not typically the one that you jump into. I mean, crowd control reduction is pretty solid. I'm trying to think of where that's going to come in handy. The hook, as well as the grab from Makoa. On Jet Serpent, actually, crowd control reduction isn't that bad against this team, but it's not going to save your life in a lot of this at the very beginning. And so maybe some of the aspects all coming together. Tough to whether or not they can make it work. I mean, Control, I think, have a favorable matchup here. That might just be a good counter talent pick, not something you'll see often. But against the CC heavy comp for Tempest team, it at least reduces the threshold of things like Dread Serpent without having to buy things like Resilience.
And 12% to 33 already. The Control haven't really given up much space. It seems like Tempest team are the ones struggling to try and make something work for them. As they still are trying to find a way in, a pick, something, anything. It doesn't seem like it's working out for them in the way that they have planned. And Nara steps off of the point, knows they're on the side here. Is overall going to wait before anything bad happens to him. Khan tries to move in, manages to touch one point for a little bit, but he's already pretty low, and he goes down to King Kaiser. Dars is going to still wait in the wing here, along with a couple remaining members of Tempest's team. But King Kaiser already found himself too, and that forces them back and pretty much submits their lead on the point here. In Control, take this one 1-0 and have a cycle crash to boot.
Now, this is going to be a hot take. But
Okay.
I think I almost want to see some of the emoji nerfs, and this is going to resonate with you. I kind of want to see them like reverted at this point, but it's just because when I hear King Kaiser's name, I look for emoji on the screen. I got so used to seeing that my brain instantly is like, wait, he's not in this game. There's no emoji. He's still a phenomenal blaster player, as you can see from the Willow, although definitely a little bit of a pause here after they grab that mid. But you can see where his presence is going to be felt. I think this Willow, again, good pick. There's not really a good counter to her on the other side. No true hit scan to help deal with her. Maybe Khan can get some damage on there, Cassie can, but when you're in the Fade Flight or just up in the air, you've got control, much like this. So I like this pick for King Kaiser, and I think it's going to be difficult to deal with on the other side.
Toss out the ceiling, and they managed to crack the Khan shield for a little bit. There is a minute and 30 still left. Beautiful shots from Androxus as well. Amadeus are going to find the last hits here onto him. So dash all the way up. He has the Impressor arm ready. He's looking for anyone that he can find here. Tossing it out, manages to blow it into the shells, into the half shell. But he's still going to be able to find the kill regardless. Two King Kaiser, one apiece. Part is not going to be contested pretty much at all, or at least for a few more seconds. As In Control keeps steadily rolling this one forward. Amadeus finds some of the dismounts, finds the hits, but even still, In Control, they're ironically enough in control.
Yeah, I mean, just being able to sit here once they
Oh no!
First, but that's just a good knockback. Look, you don't get that often enough, and it takes long. You just see how delayed that was. You can just 3-4 seconds before it was down, and a 13-second timer. Good Dread Serpent, but this is just a final hold. They're waiting for the respawn to come through for Tempest.
Yeah, half shell is going to be used directly on the objective. They can't really break through that. They gave him good enough cooldowns to where he could just use it immediately again. Trying to play around him as best they can. Hook goes out, manages to miss Amadeus. Steelix gets tossed as well. They find good spread out damage. There's 20 seconds remaining as Ice Monkey is going to try and hold his own here in main. Meanwhile, Tuga wants to move up with the Androxus on the sides. He charges in and uses this insert dominance into the back already. Uses the kinetic burst, manages to dash right back on into it. Nothing too crazy. Zero Dominance hasn't quite found the mark they may have been looking for, but they do at least get some damage on the Khan and force him away. But they get Souza in the back line. Playtech finds one, time bomb, tossed out, and they have damage found spread out among the members of In Control. But even still, they're losing members by the second. They're dropping like flies out of Tempest. He throws down the smoke screen, just looking for any sort of pick, but they find one. But still, they aren't going to be able to start the cart from rolling right on in. 2-0 for In Control Nation and an Entropic Breach in their back pocket.
Yeah, being able to come through. I think the Entropic Breach and being able to hold on to something like that, and maybe not enough to equal the playing field compared to what I would give, what's it called? The Overpower on the other side. But definitely something that's still beneficial, right? Tempest team are going to have trouble standing on the objective, which they already are going to. I mean, you've got King Kaiser on a Willow, now has a full Wrecker as well to deal with a lot of the shielding that's up there for Tempest team. Definitely not the first place I would have gone, but considering you already have Dead Zone, you don't necessarily need Wrecker. I should say Cauterize on a Willow, so Wrecker's an easy pickup for him, especially to help deal with this Koa and Khan. And it's already difficult. I mean, you've got an Inara, you've got a Dead Zone that can be dropped on you. You're not standing on the point already. The fact that you have an Entropic Breach to scream get away from there is going to be even more solid setup. Plus that slow, I think it's just going to set up Tempest team to fall like dominoes at some point in the team fight.
15% already on the board for In Control. Once again, they're still maintaining their hold over the objective here. Playtech has to back up. He got brought down to half health, but I can't say that Ash will meet the same fate. If anything, she's going to get killed. Souza. No, he tried to use the projection to get out, but he messed it up just as they were coming around the corner. Can't escape that one, and he's going to get killed. There's no support available to him. In Control Nation are still in the lead, but they have the comeback mechanic on the side of Tempest team.
The question of can you get back in time. Comeback mechanic is very mean to a lot of these teams, especially when they are as dominant, at least as what we just saw in round one for In Control. Which is to say you lose one fight in the mid. Sometimes that could be all she wrote. Dread Serpent, I hear go out, but I don't see connect the way they need to. Seismic Crash is available. Fade Flight being popped. This looks like In Control are going to be able to make it back. No problem. They might even be able to pick up a couple kills.
seems like they're at least able to force Playtech back. Makoa is there. He moves into Secret. And the overpower goes through. They managed to knock him off the sidelines there as the time bomb goes out. Not going to be able to find much of anything, but they're still trading things out in favor of Incontrol. Amadeus is finding enough to keep his team in it, at least for a little bit longer. Smokescreen goes out. The comeback mechanic is too strong, and they're not going to be able to touch in time. It's going to be all she wrote.
There's one thing you can say about Sky, and that is that she does a lot of damage in a very quick amount of time. I mean, she is good at burning people down, and I think that's just what comes through. Playtech, a few kills throughout all of that, is able to find it. The downside is she's also very quick to be burned. It's a really dog-eat-dog world for Sky out there, and she's fortunately able to walk away the mid-fight with some success. I think that stagger theoretically would slow them down, but Incontrol are going to play this safe and kind of hold back. They're finally contesting it, and this is a point and a payload, at least on JAGUAR. You don't really have to get aggressive here on this one pathway when things are wide open around these rocks. You don't have to get as aggressive as you want. It's working out for Incontrol here, but you still have your full base to defend. I think everything's going to go a little smooth, at least for another minute here while Tempest regroup.
Yeah, it seems like 2 kills inside of Control as Tuga goes over here by Sun, but that's a 2v1. He has to back out. He can't hold that against more than one person. Makoa, sure, but Makoa and Cassie, that's a tall order to ask. He's forced back and away. It's just like the rest of Incontrol. And Nara is going to try and make it out here. See if they can stall for a little bit longer. They're shooting as best as they can into Tuga as he's eating some damage, but even still, they made it back to Park. Jaguar goes out. He tries to use the Ancient Rage, but uses it a little bit too late. It's not going to give him the health reset that he was looking for. Willow, Bayflighting, looking for opportunities to fire into Secret, as it's making it harder and harder for them to fight back against the opposing side. Tempest team, they're going to make it back to the park. They don't last for very long, as they're now being forced all the way back by Incontrol, but it seems like Anara may have gotten a little bit too overzealous. No one else was able to really push up with her.
Unfortunately, right, Funky. But at the same time, when you get that aggressive, like, it's the upside downside. When you're on defense and you get that aggressive, even if you die, like, I mean, look, he's going to respawn, he's back at base, he's ready to set up another defense. If you don't die, then you just have a lot of ground that they have to be busy retaking, right? And they still don't lose that much off that death. So I think still nothing but beneficial for Incontrol here. 20 seconds left on the clock. I feel like this would be very difficult, especially given their composition, for Tempest teams to not only break this archway, go around the last corner, but then to convert on top of all of that and maintain ult. Like, there's a huge checklist for them to try and do here, and I just don't see it happening.
I don't think they'll be able to really hold the control they have over the cart. They're rolling it, but even still, it's contested by Anara once again. This is the problem. This is what it comes down to. Khan's being caught in a bad space at a bad time. Their numbers are thinning. Half shell gets dropped on point once again. They have the accursed arm in the back if they want to, but really answers them for repositioning. He finds plenty of shots, plugged into Cassie, but misses the crucial one. Is not going to get killed. That stalls enough time for Khan to even make it back to the objective. A very, very good push. It seemed like Amadeus could have found the finishing touch into the kill, but considering the fact he missed that last shot, that's too tall in order to ask, and Tuga gets melted thanks to the poison bolt from Sky. They're still holding on as best as they can. Bayfly goes out. No one can really contest that. They have to try and hold back as best as they can. They're using the accursed arm. They found one in the back, being looked at by both Kaiser and Amadeus, both all the way up in the sky. It's not many angles you can hide from them here, as a Khan gets brought down again. Playtech manages to get the kill on King Kaiser, but it's still hard for them to hold on the side of Tempest team. They are managing to do it, but they can't hold on for much longer. They're looking for the kills here. They want to see if they can find the damage on Amadeus, but they don't get it. And they managed to make this work for them. Incontrol Nation managed to make this a 3-1.
And just holding on to it. I was actually a little worried. Amadeus, I mean, 14, 6, and 8. I was going to say maybe he needs to pick some things up, but Amadeus, he's doing just fine, according to that slash line. Maybe there's a couple of last hits in there that we haven't quite gotten to see, but I was a little tempted to say something. Realistically, it's all just about the sky control. I mean, it's raining bullets. If Amadeus and Kaiser go up into the air, it's just so difficult, I think, to maneuver outside of this initial midpoint, because the midpoint has enough cover that maybe you can hide from them. And you're running right into the waiting arms of someone like Tuga, as well as Ice Monkey.
3,
There's a lot of control that Tempest team just aren't going to be able to have. Unless Playtech goes big, or Retlaw in this case, they're going to have a lot of work that comes through for them. Otherwise, I mean, the tanks haven't really been showcasing a whole ton. This feels like an Incontrol win as long as they can continue this pace.
Tropic Breach gets dropped directly in mid, but there's no one that's going to be there that's going to be of use to them. They're mostly playing by Sun, and they find the kill onto Ice Monkey. Playtech in the back line. Wants to get Souza, and he manages to not get him. He manages to escape with the poison. There we go. That's what I was expecting to take out and be able to find that kill. They do manage to get him as he's escaping. 1 to 2 already. As you have a Dread Serpent, you have things to peel them away from the objective. It seems like they'll actually be able to just hold this. The Tempest team are going to maintain control over this point on Jaguar Falls. Ice Monkey tries to make it back. He's doing a lot of damage to the DR. What is he trying to quite stall here? I'm not too sure. He's going to have to back up anyway, because they're still really doing their thing on the side of Tempest team. They even managed to catch Amadeus on the way into their usual position, so this is the best look that you can have. And Nara's being caught out too. They actually pop out the Ancient Rage, and they try to get the kill on her, and they manage to find that one too. 2 for the price of none. That's exactly what you want. Hook directly onto Willow. Perfect chain CC as well. Flutters up, but she's going to be brought down. They're falling. They're staggering themselves out of anything on the side of In Control.
Oh, but that's a fat accursed arm. Only gets 1 kill, but a lot of health bars chunk. That should slow things down a little bit. Well, I say should, but it doesn't seem to stop them at all. And this is the glory. That Sky is coming in. If Maldama's not around, I mean, again, it's maybe not the same amount of healing, but it's still enough healing that you're going to be able to pop somebody off. I think there's a good counter for it here in the Willow. But unless it's, consistent damage, lockdown, and things like that, this Sky, again, she's not necessarily the best at any one thing that she does, but she's good enough at everything that she, well, good enough at what she brings. She's going to be able to fill in those roles. I think that's giving In Control a little bit of trouble, at least around the midpoint. I'm wondering if they're going to be able to maintain here. Last time they had, what, 1 minute and 40, and they stopped it about 30 feet back from where the payload is now. It's teetering on the edge of entering the base. One last fight. The Tempest team looking to try and figure it out.
Orvis keeps them hold as best as he can in the pack. I'm sure he's keeping everybody alive, but even still, they have to retreat on the side of In Control Nation. The time bomb give them the space, and Dars is going to submit them the kill. Same thing can be said for Retlaw, even though Ice Monkey manages to take him out a couple seconds later, and Tropic Breach down on the cart. No one can really contest. This Playtech is trying his best to find a better position. He wants a better vantage. He wants the angle as Ash tries to shoulder bash in, but he's going to get killed as he gets knocked up. There's no way for him to escape that, because they have to back up. They need to play for a retouch here and a retake situation. As they are grouped up, it seems like they're backing up pretty far, though. Anara, once again, pushing up so far. She's aggressive. She's not afraid to take these front leading angles. If anything, no one else is really able to provide the support that she may need, so she has to back off anyway. As Dars moves right on in, will he be able to touch the card though? No, can he? See, like Khan will be the one that actually manages to do that, but Dars went down as that was happening. He maintained control over Secret, but there were too many people that were looking at him. Meanwhile, Khan was trying to touch the objective, and it just wasn't what they needed on the side of the Tempest team. In Control still hold the 3-2.
Well, In Control are still in that position. Getting a point off defense, never anything you're going to be able to do. I think Tempest team, they've been successful in the last couple of mid-fights. They don't have a full comeback mechanic this time around, half comeback mechanic available for them. And so there's maybe a little more wiggle room for In Control, but I think if they lose another fight like that, then we're looking at, again, the longest way to get to a 3-3.
Right.
I could envision this being a Tempest team capturing the point, defense from In Control, then one more mid-fight that comes through. But In Control, you've got the Accursed Arm, you've got a Faith Light, you've got an Assert Dominance. Soon enough, the Entropic Breach as well as that Seismic Crash. All of your ults are right on the precipice of coming through, and I see 1, 2 resiliences. Ideally, I'd see a little bit more, but because they have Souza with some of that crowd control reduction, they can maybe alleviate it. That should help them deal with things like the Dread Serpent. I'm more worried about the Khan, this Overpower. Definitely going to be able to get rid of somebody, but he's on the wrong side of the map to make it work.
Dars goes down, and once again, he used the Ancient Rage, but it's still a little bit too early. Khan barely makes it out over that wall, manages to glide right on top of it. It's enough to allow him to escape, but the rest of his team is still fractured. They're still missing a member, because they can't really push in immediately. I don't even really know if they'll be able to make it back with no battle scars. If anything, it seems like Dars wants to do that. He has the Ancient Rage with the wall. It goes up. They're trying to put a stop directly onto Khan. They move off of the objective, and it allows them to really stop the Khan from getting the commander's grab off, or at least touching for overtime, but they still managed to get that. They lost 2, though, in the long run of things. They have Ancient Rage. They use it, but 4 members are down. Makoa's the only one remaining, and once he's out of the mix, that means that In Control are going to take this one 1-0 over Tempest team.
That's just a good start. Again, this is a team that realistically you expect to be able to come out on top. I'm
Mhm.
really actually happy with Tempest team though. Very surprising, I think, to see them come in with I don't know how to describe the composition other than a little more off meta, I think is the
Right,
polite way and the technical terms for it that comes through. Blocking and things like the sky didn't work for him here, but you could see the merits that it would bring on a map like Jag Falls. Cassie, as much as I love her, maybe not the top DPS in the game right now. I like that
right.
they're picking her up, and they still push Tempest to enough of a limit that they feel uncomfortable. And I expect that to be the way these maps go, where you
Right.
could tell me it's a 3-0. I wouldn't be too surprised if Control win it like that. But every map is going to be that length or longer, honestly. I think Tempest have a lot of weight in the ring here, and they're going to continue punching up, even though they've only won, I believe, one set, maybe not even, throughout this entire phase.
I think it's important to bring up that Inara damage. 102,000 on the Inara, really going toe to toe with the Sky on the enemy team, and she has more, about 500 more, if anything, on the Inara with Ice Monkey. I mean, it makes sense. As aggressive as he was playing, it really pays off, and that just shows how much in control we're able to make the best out of some of their bad situations. Ice Monkey, whether people were ready to push with him or not, he you could bet that he would move in anyway. 19 and 10, 11 and 7 for King Kaiser, and 22 assists for Ash. A pretty nice slash line for Ash. Typically, we would expect to see way worse, especially into a couple counters of hers, but they just had that much presence on the map.
Yeah, the man, 22 assists as well, definitely being able to bat
Mhm.
a ton. And I was actually surprised Playtech, even though he did pretty well, so maybe not too surprised, but had the
Right.
best KDA on his team, right? Being able to come through a lot of kills, although it came with a lot of deaths, right? They balance each other out pretty well there throughout all of it. And so Tempest, I think, again, being able to punch upward, punch pretty strongly, but not enough to knock out in control just yet. This is the question of whether or not they can turn that around, continue that kind of performance, but make it a little more consistent, right? Come into a round three or get themselves a 2-0 at the very beginning. Maybe start working on getting some of the conversions. I think it all depends on the map, but they were first pick their fun, so that makes me think that was their pick, which means wherever we go next should then, in theory, be in Control's map pick, which is a scary prospect.
Well, let's head right into picks and bans and see where it is that we're heading. Is it going to be Ice Mines? Is what's the pick is going to be here? Gonna try and slow things down, I believe, which is interesting that they would want to try and do that on right after Jaguar Falls. It felt like that game was still back and forth. I suppose they want to slow things down even more, make it more equal for whoever wins those mid fights, because that's the type of map we expect Ice Mines to be. It's polarizing. We've talked about it multiple times before. Whoever wins that mid fight, they're going to have a hard time climbing. The opposing team is going to have a hard time climbing back to the objective because of how long some of those angles are. And we see that they want to start things off right with getting rid of the Vivian and getting rid of the Makoa.
And I actually like this start so far, Torvald as well. This is the thing this is what's interesting to me and the way the meta affects everybody.
Okay.
When you look at, again, Ruckus was doing incredibly well in Europe, and nobody else really seemed to be picking him up in the other regions. But we've seen, and I believe first and foremost, North America was running the Torvald comps that were the most
Mhm.
insane. And now all of a sudden he's first pick, first ban everywhere. And it's just like, all right, look, I'm not saying everyone's taking notes from North America right now. I'm just saying that we happen to see Torvald there first, and all of a sudden he's everywhere else. But all kidding aside, I think this is a good ban and a good set. With a Victor and a Genos on the same team, both of which is still available here, Torvald would then be an absolute insane bump over the hill, or even a Bomb King. Actually, is something I would like on
True.
this map because there's so many picks that can be solid. Tyra wasn't one of the ones I was going to mention, Tempest team, but
Yeah.
good on you for being able to bring it through. I'm looking at Bomb Kings, Dredges, Victors, Genos as well, maybe being a priority pick here just because of the damage output they can all do and the control they can bring to the map. There's some interesting things about Tyra versus Terminus that I think can come through, and in terms of that matchup, I'm excited to see what Tempest team have to offer, but right now I'm gonna say Strix a little more. I don't even want to say off-putting. I would take him slightly behind Canessa on this map, but
Mhm.
outside of that, with Bomb King and Term, I like In Control's comp.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Strix, Bomb King, beautiful DPS to sort of round out your draft on the side of In Control. Tyra Fernando, interesting that we see the Tyra here. This is not a pick that we would expect to see at all, which is what you said. But looking at it once again, it's even more. It's not unbelievable, but it's interesting. Tempest team, Tyra Fernando, Tiberius Genos. that's great, honestly. I mean, combat trance with Tiberius and the damage amp is going to be hard for any of them to play into. It's going to mean that Strix has a harder time holding angles as well.
Yeah, that's the fun part of this, right? Tiberius, and look, we've seen a lot of mixed success with Tiberius all year.
Right.
Some really good performances. Well, I don't even know if I can say really good performances. He's had some performances and then some bad performances, right?
Right.
Nothing that's like been stellar, but then a lot that have been unfortunately a little. I just let's call them under the weather for the way that they've
Mhm.
come out. But this is a good map for him in terms of damage output. You find that right angle, you get it in through the wall, your glaive, and then it just all the way down. You
Yeah,
can even run the
exactly.
talent where it gets an extra 2 bounces, and all of a sudden, like you had highlighted, that Strix is just nowhere to be seen. He's not going to be able to do much. Same thing for Bomb King. But I see a Grover, an Ash, a BK. They're going to be able to run up the side no problem together. And that puts a lot of pressure onto Tiberius and Tyra, neither of which are going to be adept at getting to that Strix, save for the long range Tiberius can bring.
Yeah, but it's I think it's the Genos as well that really tells how Tip's team are going to be able to favor into Bomb King, into Strix, because sometimes we see it where the team doesn't draft the blaster, and we've
Yeah.
seen teams lose when they don't have the blaster. We've also seen teams win when they do. We've also seen teams win when they do or don't have the blaster, but more than likely Bomb King, Drogos, whoever the blaster may be, typically carries their team enough to victory because it's hard to contest in Barn. I think Genos makes a matchup for them. Let's head in the game on Ice Mines in Control Nations versus Tip's team. Can Tip's team tie it up? I think this might be the draft to do it.
I decided to look it up just because I needed to see, right, how
Mhm.
things were going. And, well, for Tiberius, unfortunately, they're not going well. 31% win rate here in Brazil.
Yikes.
Not necessarily what you want to hear when you've locked him in. Doesn't get much better. You know who else has 31% and is very close to Tiberius in the alphabet? Yeah, that Tyra. Not winning a
Ah.
whole lot
Oh,
of games.
wow.
So I don't want to say that the
3,
numbers are going to maybe
2,
persuade you to vote
1.
against somebody. I think there's a
And
lot
so it
to be
begins.
said about the players behind the champion more than the numbers behind the champion.
Mm.
But I will say Incontrol are already favored in this matchup. So we'll have to see if this Tyra can surprise us, this Tiberius can surprise us, and pick some things up.
It seems like right now that Barn is still remaining control towards red. It seems like, because no one's really trying to contest that. Everyone seems to be playing back, playing their angles. Bomb King, of course, is there, but he's not going to peek too them. He's going to try and find hits where he wants to. Tyra marks the terminus on the objective almost instantly. And of course, he has to back off. He's got to concede for a little bit. Not much percentage gained on either side. The fight, the poke, the back and forth has definitely been enough for them, and they find Dars because of it.
Okay, who's
Good
the feeder?
damage. That's a good turnaround, though. To get rid of King Kaiser here, specifically just a BK in general, it's a very good pickup. Definitely for Retlaw to be able to get aggressive, somebody I didn't think we'd see a lot on the scoreboard, at least in the positive light of things. But Tiberius off to a good start, but I mean, Fawn, you had kind of mentioned it earlier, 15% for Tempest team when they were going uncontested. Now it's 78 and still going percent for Incontrol, and they're finally getting some pressure returned on them. The temper that I think is the driving factor.
Seems like they're trading things out 1-for-1. Ice Monkey's still marked, so once again, he's going to opt to give up that percentage on the point. Doesn't put up the siphon in time, and eats a lot of flamethrower to the back.
You've got
They're
the
pretty much grouping up on point for right now. Tyra being the new one on the objective. They got rid of Souza. I agree with you, Gore. They might actually be able to take this one off of a comeback. Retlaw finds 2 kills, and yeah, that's pretty much all they wrote for that one. There's nothing else to really be gained here except for a point on the board for Tempest's team.
I mean, that's just unfortunate timing, I think, for Incontrol. It's this really weird stagger, right? They go into a fight, they lose the BK, then they go into a fight again and lose Ash shortly thereafter. So when BK's back, no one's there to help him get aggressive the way he needs to. And so Incontrol just weren't able to get through. I think kudos to Tempest team for being able to keep the pressure on the way they did. Now the question is whether or not Control Nation can stabilize. I mean, Tempest team, you know, again, Jag Falls was their map pick, but if you can pick up in Control's map pick,
Ooh.
and you keep everything as even as possible going forward throughout the set.
Get it through time and space off, and you find the pick of the opposite healer here. Siphon is already up, eating the shots from Rom. Making it hard for him to really gain anything from the second health bar. This thing's harder and harder for Incontrol to hold on to. Tempest team, no issues whatsoever with rolling this cart right on forward. The King Bomb is going to roll right on through. They use the Cataclysm. They try and stop it. The Immortal is what's preventing him from moving around the corner, which is a beautiful ultimate and good presence of mind from Tempest team. They take this 2-0 against Incontrol Nation. I love how he used that Immortal. It stopped Bomb King from moving in, trying to see if he can get the stuns or any burst damage because no one could be killed. It just didn't matter. And because of the Fernando having that presence of mind, it allowed them to take that route.
Exactly. That Fernando realistically being the kind of savior that comes
Yeah.
through. King Kaiser, I think you had highlighted it, but he only hits Rom there with his ult, and that does literally nothing. I don't think I've
Capture
seen
points
someone
spawning
shrug
in
a King
15
Bomb off that way.
seconds.
Just in general, it's just difficult. It's not an ult that you normally look at and then decide not to. And, well, you know, you can see him playing around
5,
there. Going
4,
forward with it, I
3,
believe was running
2,
Accelerant as well,
1.
Cosmic, if I saw that properly. That was kind of a weird one to pick up overall for Bomb King. Yeah, so Grumpy Bomb coming off a little bit more often. This is the weird conversation that Bomb King can have around him. If you're certain your bombs are going to be in the right area, then I guess you can go for it and you know, maybe have that stun up a little faster. It definitely messes with everyone's timing, but you're probably going to see King Kaiser have a, let's say, reduced amount of damage compared to what we're expecting out of a Bomb King because he's not as consistent. Oh, he finds the kill there, so maybe I should stop talking about it.
Well, it seems like Dars gets a little bit too overzealous and moves into the back. He ate so much damage trying to lock down that Bomb King that by the time he made it to him, Terminus had already peeled back and managed to get a couple kills. The Tempest team, they have no issue taking things by storm once again. They now submit their lead, or they now submit their position, I should say, in the fight, as they're really just trying to hold him back, but it's hard to fight into a Strix, so Tiberius, he's going to give that one up and allow himself to back off and regroup. Let's see, 63% has been gained for the boys in red.
Trouble getting back in there. Good dismount as well from Tempest team. I don't know. This just seems hard to break. Crossfire's available as well. Like, your worst case scenario is, oh no, I shred a tank in a few seconds. Either way, I think Tempest team are in a good position. They could even collapse here if, you know, not maybe intentionally, but if you die here, especially with a reanimate, yeah, worthwhile for you. You're up 3-0. You've got more credits. You die, you spin some of them, you come back and you blast them around. I don't think they'd have too much trouble disrupting the control from Incontrol, especially with the positioning they have. They haven't really lost a lot of ground.
It seems like Amadeus was able to lock down a very efficient angle. They managed to get a beautiful headshot and then the finishing blow onto Dars. But they lost a couple members. Incontrol have to back off, or at least what's remaining of Incontrol, I should say, as Tiberius wants to move in. But beautiful cripple axe on the Tiberius. They submit that kill through time and space. They find Tuga as well. They just want to keep the lead. They want to keep the positioning here. The Tempest team want to garner for themselves. The cart is rolling because of that. Use the ultimates you can, I agree. And make sure you submit yourselves in this fight, in this upcoming fight.
Just trying to get the same momentum they had last time. This has been a map that 4-0s aren't uncommon on anymore. King Kaiser double kill. Let's make it
gosh.
for Retla. He's moving forward, Fawn.
Retla is going to be dishing out the pain against Incontrol right now as he finds himself a triple kill. Rom drops down, runs directly into Amadeus, and they find that kill almost instantly. Tuga was already low, so all they're going to do is turn around and make sure he's taken out of the fray as well. As this is a very, very good look for Tempest team. They even have the Immortal available to him as well. Cataclysm is going to end up being used. They didn't even have the time to respond, Gore, as Tempest team tie this up 1-1 on Ice Mines.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of flabbergasted. I didn't expect that going into it. The numbers weren't in their favor either. But hey, they had exactly what they needed. That Tiberius had a really good game. And, you know, this is the thing. I guess when you look at win rates the way I did, right? You see 31 and you think, man, that's not that great. But that still means 31% of the time he's winning. I guess we just got to see one of those, right? That he came through. Very well played from Tempest team. You had highlighted it there. I think good counter potential as well. The Immortal against the Bomb King. The Accelerant just didn't seem to work out as a pick for King Kaiser. A couple of things there that were maybe shaky from Incontrol. And so they weren't able to plant their feet the way that I would have expected and move themselves forward. I won't be surprised to see if their damage is pretty low as well. Not too far off what you would expect to see. In fact, a lot even coming down from Souza, 26,000. which is more than double, or almost double, sorry, what that Terminus was able to do. And even 60,000 from Strix, they just weren't able to convert that into kills. They found a lot of poke and a lot of, prodding at the tanks, but not enough to get to the backline, kill off those front lines or those backliners, the DPS, enough.
Wow, look at the KDs. Redemption had gone undying throughout that game. 3-0 and 17. He handed the Luminary buff to everyone, and I didn't even realize we didn't even talk about this. Tyra didn't go Mercy Kill. She didn't go Burn Monster. She went Hunting Party for herself and for her team. No wonder they weren't able to do a lot of damage, and no wonder the slash lines look heavy, are more so heavy in terms of Tempest team. You technically have double damage amp. That's a hard thing to fight through. That's a lot of damage that's coming into your team that you have to be ready for. And most people aren't even ready for that. They aren't even ready for a Genos. That's why they ban it all the time.
So this is an interesting, again, it's kind of an interesting topic to tackle, because
Mhm.
you roll back to when Torvald and Genos is like the big thing, which is still kind of the
Right.
big thing. But when Torvald was getting banned, Tyra was the other one in there. Like, she was
Right.
the supplementary, like, yeah, she can do some good damage. Maybe we lock her in because she's DPS. No, you lock
Yeah.
her in for the hunting party. You don't care about
Right,
that Mercy
right.
Kill. You don't care about that Burn Monster. Get them out of here. They're
Yeah,
garbage
get them out.
compared to that hunting
Get them
party.
out
I
of my
think it even
game.
had to get nerfed a little bit
Mhm.
because of how strong it was. But look, like you said, man, you pair it with a Genos Luminary, and
Yeah.
good luck living through that. That's a lot of damage to deal with. Any marked target at that point is just fair game.
Yeah, and who exactly did Tyra mark all the time? She marked the Terminus. That's why the Terminus had to back off. He had to back off. She marked off the Terminus. She marked off any sort of frontliner that was really standing in the spot that they shouldn't have been in, or even if they weren't even standing in the spot they should have been in. She would just mark them anyway. And what would that force them to do? It would force them to back off of the objective. They couldn't contest because they knew they had to deal with the Genos Luminary buff, and they had to deal with the Tyra hunting party. It was just enough for them to really make it work for them. We're going to head right into the next game, though. That was a pretty quick game. Let's see how Stone Keep turns out in game 3 for Incontrol Nation versus Tempest team. And Krez, I believe the score is tied at 1-1 right now, as Tempest team were able to actually win Ice Mines. Thanks for changing that.
My
That's
bad.
just so that everyone is understanding as to how this has been such a close set so far and how it is
Hey,
great
look,
to watch.
I can side with Krez on that one. If I was looking at the
Yeah.
numbers of these sets, I would have
Yeah.
told you, well, look, we're going into game 3. It's a 2-0. It's already
Yeah.
like, I could see exactly how that's supposed to come through. Very surprising from Tempest team. Honestly, could be explosive. Like, so here's the weird thing about momentum in Paladins. Sometimes,
Mhm.
it's a fast game. Depending on In Control, they can just let that roll over them as a 4-0. Who cares? You know what? Let's just move forward, Stone Keep. It's loser's pick. So we get to determine this map.
Mhm.
But sometimes that affects you more so. You're like, man, it took us forever to beat them in map 1, and they just rolled over us in map 2. Like, what are we supposed to
Right.
do here in map 3? It can get to you. So depending on how, let's say elastic they are, how much they can kind of bend with the way things are going and just snap right back into place, then I think that they can roll into Stone Keep relaxed and comfortable, right? A lot of the picks you just had still work here. This is a map that, even though they're played in a completely different style, picks for some reason are similar to Ice Mines here.
Right.
And I think you could run things. Genos BK could be a really, really good combo if they want to go for it. But I wouldn't be surprised to see like the return of the Strix. Maybe a Victor pops up depending on how people are feeling about him. It could be a good chance for normalcy from In Control.
Yeah, Corvus and Droxus is going to be on the side of Tempest team so far, as it gives them a lot of survivability from the Corvus. I don't know if we'll see dark gifts like we saw before in the first map on Jaguar Falls, but if that's what the plan is, it gives them a little bit of extra CDR, some cooldown reduction, and some CC and some CC reduction as well. It's a good look for if you have some of those more, I guess, divey compositions. If you want to be more aggressive, means they can stay in the fight longer. But in Control, are going to go with Genos. They're going to go with Ashe. They're going to go with Vivian. And those are beautiful characters to have when you have a Genos pocket. That damage amp always comes into play no matter what character you're playing.
Yeah, it feels more or less just relaxed. Like, if I'm looking
Yeah.
at this for In Control, there's certain compositions and there's certain ways to look at it where they just feel normal. right? I
Right.
mean, they're nothing out of the ordinary. You just look at it and you're like, yeah, that'll work on Stone Keep. And when I look at it, yeah, that'll work on Stone Keep. Like, there's nothing bad about it. You look at
Yeah.
Terminus, Fernando, Andro, Corvus, all of those, maybe a
Mhm.
little more iffy, at least in the tank department. Terminus has been kind of a mainstay, but Fernando's the one that's shakiest. But it does thwart, as I'd highlighted, maybe going for like a Bomb King earlier. All of a sudden, oh, we don't want to run that into an Immortal again. You can't run a Drogos into this either, although you never want to pick Drogos into Andro anyway, so we can have a
Right.
discussion about that. And so they go for something a little more just off kilter. Barrick, yeah, it makes sense in the front line. There's not a lot that can come through, although, hey guys, and Nara is still available. Just wanted to
Right.
let people know she's still out there, even though you picked the Barrick. But Leon being picked up is the one that kind of intrigues me. She's solid, but I don't know if she's going to bring anything to the table here that I maybe would have preferred to see someone else that could bring something just a little more explosive, some blasters that could lock in.
Well, Nara is unpicked and unbanned in both drafts, Score Miser, and that's not anything I would have expected to see. It seems like such a common pick, especially when you don't have to worry about first picking the Makoa on either side. You already banned him out, so
Yeah.
that leaves open a lot of stronger frontliners. But Barrett with the Genos buff, Ash being in the back, just pretty much firing as freely as she wants to. She's going to be able to hold a lot of different angles, especially with Leon's. Vivian is going to be the one I would suspect just chilling in the back. This is this is pretty much great on both sides. I mean, I don't really know who to choose. The game will be able to tell us that one as we head into Stone Keep to see how Game 3 is going to go.
There's a lot that can come through with this. I saw someone in chat had said it. Quarter had mentioned it in kind of in a laughy way, and it clicks and resonates with me, at least, someone who had to cast during the entire year. But it is a very 2019 comp.
It really, really is.
I mean, I guess Vivian is maybe she's the question mark in that. She feels pretty 2020, but everything else in there that is able to come in. I really like the fact that Incontrol are running something old school, let's call it. But
4,
look,
3,
and something me and
2,
Kresnik have agreed on,
1.
and I feel like I've kind of let off the gas pedal.
go!
Kresnik hasn't on this, but Barrick isn't really the hot tank he used to be, and I think we might see some of that. Ice Monkey, though, is one of the best that we've gotten to see in the past when it was through the minor league or what have you. So I expect a lot out of him, at least to try and make this one work and look good.
It seems like they're taking control over Keep very effectively. Tuga already pushing into their side of the spawn, Tempest team side of the spawn, as he's not really having any issues trying to go toe-to-toe against this Terminus. Life is going up, though. He moves in, tries to get the burst on Amadeus, but oh my goodness, gets sent off the side, off the top rope. If anything, Tempest team are just going to find their first blood by killing Ice Monkey and having 72% on the point. They have to find some sort of way to touch the side of Incontrol, as it seems like Tempest team are really, really holding on.
90% to 15 fun, like, and any other circumstance, like, and this is just me remembering the standings, I would say Tempest team are running away with this objective, but remember that they are sitting at the bottom of the standings, and usually there's a good reason for that in terms of consistency. We'll have to see if they can make it back on to find that final 10%. Already Souza, and they're supposed to be getting rid of Amadeus. That could be the big opening to come in, delete Ice Monkey from the map, and get yourselves an objective.
Finish it already.
99% for Tempest team. It's hard to argue that they wouldn't want that beautiful swing from the axe. Man, it's going to be enough to not only get damage onto both King Kaiser and Ice Monkey, but it's going to be enough to kill them too. The Control now are just now spawning. It doesn't matter. Playtech wants all the smoke and gives them the hands. Amadeus is going to get taken out of the fight.
A couple of good shots here. Playtech. Really, again, it was kind of an interesting but still solid performance on the Sky earlier. Now on something that can actually carry here in the Androxus. Although, look, that's maybe unfair to Sky. I think this Andra is going to be able to do it a lot easier. And so far, it's aggression. Look, whatever they had between Game 1 and Game 2 that is now carrying over to Game 3, eat it, drink it, whatever it was, do it again, because this is the kind of Tempest team that I wish we could have seen all.
Yeah, in honor for me to make a Dragon Ball Z reference, I don't know what kind of juice he drinks, but it's definitely enough to give him the utmost power that you want behind Terminus, as he's in control over low ground. Amadeus, Playtech is going to be the one that goes up, but all he does is get, I guess you could call that one jebaited, but he puts up the reversal and manages to make it out. Terminus is going to res, though, as he manages to try and keep control over high ground. So while that's the case, though, it seems like his back was already towards the rest of them, but he does actually make it out, and he's able to control so much because of that. They even lower Amadeus, and that's going to be it. That's the kill. Dars is traded out, but even still, they're more and more members by the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a Terminus to fill his spot, right? Although Terminus not there much longer, Temper goes down, even though your damage is still up in terms of the Strix and the Andro. I don't know if this is the fight you really want to be fighting. It looks like a final breath just of relaxation here for Incontrol Nation, finally being able to just get some air for themselves. Move up, get a little aggressive. You have to be careful. That payload, it's just precariously positioned. 40 seconds left, especially with the regroup Tempest have. We could still walk this one forward, Fawn. It's not quite out of the I guess out of the frying pan just yet for Incontrol.
30 seconds
Seems
remaining.
like 30 seconds is on the clock. It's not a lot of time, but it might be a little bit to deal with. Oh my goodness, they use the Immortal, and that's so unlucky, man. They knew Playtech wanted to go in. Darius gets kinetic bursted off of the side. Amadeus is the one that got the last hit, which is why that ended up happening while he's on the kill feed and not Ash. But my goodness, man. I mean, they used the Immortal because they wanted to let Andro go in, use the Accursed Arm without dying. But I guess he was just out of reach. They weren't able to make that work for him. Will Terminus be able to make it back? Was he body blocked by that turret for a second and they void grip him? He's not going to be able to make it out of this one. They are going to be able to defend this one successfully. No overtime touch for Tempest team as they tie things up 1-1 on Stone Keep.
Being able to keep it close is better for them. That was not necessarily the best first round overall. I mean, you get the defense, but say by the skin of their teeth at that point from Incontrol Nation. A little bit more pressure is going to be necessary from Tempest team. Make sure that one comes through. Look, 007 there for your Corvus is always going to be solid. 5-2-0. Temper, kind of a surprise carry as of right now on this Terminus. And I think that's well, that's the pivot, right? I think I need to see Retlon Playtech specifically, even though their damage numbers are going to be up there. They need to be the ones picking up these kills, getting the credits in their pockets as well, even though Temper can use them to maybe be a better front line. I want to see what Playtech and Retlon can do here. They'll be the ones truly controlling the game for Tempest team. If they aren't able to maintain that same level of performance they did during the last fight, it might fall apart here.
Seems like Temper wants to get a little bit more aggressive against Tuga and Amadeus, but he's not going to really make much headway here. Tuga, though, might get brought low, and he is going to get taken out. Playtech managed to rotate around and find an opportunity for them to make that work for him. 2 kills for Tempest team, and even more on the way as Ice Monkey has to find a way out, but I don't think he will. They're going to push in. They use the Dome Shield just so that way he doesn't die. He wants to hold this position. He doesn't want to move back too far. They need to be able to touch the objective once again. Siphon up, Calamity Burst done. Already uses Tuga. My goodness, slid his way right onto the objective and used the assert dominance. Managed to lock down Strix, but there's nothing from that. They use the Enlightenment. They find the hit, but even still, all it does is force Tempest team back. They didn't get any picks from that. And Playtech manages to find one in the back, and it allows them to retake it and even get Souza.
I mean, call it, you know, deja vu. 96, 99 to 0 here. 3% going to be touched, but Ice Monkey's just barely able to get on this point and control anything. It's just not looking too great for them. And you had called it. Tempest team just got all those kills. And I think the percentage was already there for them, so they're not too worried about it. Now you're going into the push. And I think you just have to alter a couple of things. High ground control was a very, very highly contested last time around. But if you can force the assert dominance, which by the way, it's at 33%, so you don't even have to worry about it for a little while. Then Temper's in a better spot. 8-2-1, by the way. And not a slash line I expect to see on a turn. It's kind of breaking my brain. But it's looking good for Tempest to try and get this one converted. A little bit better than they did the last time.
Seems like really holding on to the high ground once again, but there's still nothing to really be gained from this. And of course, as soon as I say that, what happens? Souza gets his Thanos snapped out of the existing fight, and that means that they'll have more control on the side of Tempest team. As the Immortal goes out, they manage to peel for Terminus. They want to roll this one in. They want to submit this for the better. There is 1 minute and 38 seconds on the clock, and the reason why I bring that up is because look at how far up the cart has rolled. That's a lot of space to be gained. Will he use the reanimate? I don't think so. I'm just going to hold on to it. No reason to use it. They have it a substantial amount of time and a substantial amount of space that they have gained. No need to force any ultimates here.
Yeah, and that's one of those moments, at least you look at what specifically you'd called it for the reanimate. And it's just, like you said, it's not necessary. You had over a minute well enough to be able to regroup and get back. You're not pressured to use that ult to try to regroup control. In fact, they've been able to get back to the payload no problem, and it looks like Dara is going to be able to start this off. Ice Monkey's locked down. If they get this kill, they might be able to move that payload in.
Seems like they're trying to still push this one forward. They used 3 times in space, but it's not enough to find the mark. Tempest team rolled that one in. Tuga wasn't even able to touch to cause the overtime, buy his team a little bit more time. Tempest team in control and looking good at that. 3-1, but Amadeus has the most damage here compared to the Strix. It's not too far of a deficit between the two of them, but it is enough to point out that Amadeus has been really putting out way more damage than the Strix has, especially since the Strix is 9-1.
Yeah, I mean, Strix
Got your points, buddy,
9-1
15
and being able to
seconds.
find those conversions to the kills. I think that's the big difference, is Amadeus is able to get a lot of damage out there, and Leon is good at poke, but she's not finding the same amount of kills. Good slash line, not a lot of assists,
4,
which to me
3,
indicates that the team
2,
themselves is having
1.
an issue trying to lock everything down, even though she's getting good damage out there, which is not a good sign for Incontrol. Again, fun. I'm looking big picture right now. I'm thinking going forward, first off, you can't eat snipes like that. That one's easy. You got to stutter step that baby. But also, you're going into championships soon. You can't have a performance like this against the bottom team in Brazil, or maybe he's just showcasing how tight Brazil is. Anybody can still win, especially if Tempest continue on this round.
Tempest using the Resurrection, and Playtech wants to use the Accursed Arm. They drop so many ultimates on point because they want the control. They want to submit this Tropic Priest, the Accursed Arm, the whole 9 yards. 2 kills already, and I'm sure the bodies aren't going to stop here. They already see King Kaiser. He's got him in his sights, and he's already done so. Souza has to back up using that flight to try and see if he can make it out. Barrett just made it back, and my goodness, he gets deleted. The assert dominance just to hold ground. Doesn't even use it to create space because he can't. They find Playtech, but they want the dismounts. They want the ability to try and stop them from getting back to the point. So they're going to try and charge back, and they do make it back. They get the touch they were looking for. Projection has to be used. Corvus has to find a way out. They're already pushing and making their rounds back to the cart as they have to use the Immortal. They don't want Strix to go down. They managed to peel beautiful Immortals from this Fernando the entire game. 70% for Incontrol. They managed to turn this one around, and Playtech wins this. This is looking a little bit more shaky for Incontrol Nation. They put up the reversal. They shoulder bash. They get the kill as Terminus still wants to remain control over this. He's holding the point for as long as he possibly can. Siphon goes out as he's trying to still hold on. How much longer will he be able to do so? He's still alive, and he bought so much time for the rest of his team that he even caused the overtime of the comeback mechanic available to Incontrol Nation. That means they will be able to make it back onto the card. They're able to slow things down a little bit, but that shield is broken. No problem whatsoever. Reversal down, and Amadeus uses the presence and has the presence of mind to make sure Playtech is killed soon after that. 2-3 for Incontrol Nation.
Finally steps up when you need it. I mean, we've been looking at this Leon all game, and specifically you had highlighted the damage numbers were there. It's just the kills that weren't. Finally, you get to see what Amadeus is able to do. And I feel like this has been a relatively calm and quiet game from Amadeus just in general. I mean, normally we're looking at Amadeus as somebody that realistically has been one of the top performances in Brazil. He's just always been a consistent player. So a little surprising to see it take a while for him to get online. And honestly, maybe I'm something done for him. They have a good round. It's looking like a pretty solid defense as of right now. A nice solid wall built by Tempest team. Not a lot to come in and touch down for Incontrol to try and break their way into this. It's going to be a massive fight to turn this entire thing around.
Your time and space is going to be lined up beautifully, but everyone's just going to mostly move out of the way. Beautiful enlightenment, completely 100% cash back guarantee, because you got 2 of them. Typically, it'd be 50%, but if you get that enlightenment just like that, that's a fully refunded ultimate. Beautiful angle from Amadeus to get that for his team. That means they can keep rolling this part forward, and even 2 picks is going to be enough to allow them to still control high ground. Duke is trying to fight back, but they're going to body block him. Will he go down here? Time will tell, and he does. Can Playtech make it out? And he does as well. Corvus keeps him healed, and they're going to be able to hold these angles.
Good snipes and good angles right now from Tempest team. A minute left on is still enough time to try and break through. Well, it was until Ice Monkey goes down. All of a sudden, all of my hope and faith in Incontrol in terms of breaking this archway start to slip through. The Strix being able to get a better angle with longer lines of sight is going to be, I think, a little more easily controlled by Tempest team here. He might even be able to close this out in the next mid-fight. I mean, they're maintaining ults, and World's almost back up. Vandro can charge his up in the next 30 seconds. They're looking like just in a solid position to continue this game in their favor.
They're going to keep this one in 5 seconds available. Tuka does have his ultimate if he wants to try and command and use that one, but I don't think he will. It's too close to the game for that to be used so easily. Redlaw gets the kill on King Kaiser, but they trade things out on Temporary. However, Dars, Temper, both down. Playtech is able to get the one who killed them by taking revenge for his fallen comrade. Souza just trying to put the juke shoes on, trying to keep out of line of sight from Playtech as they get rid of the turret. And now Ice Monkey doing what he can to hold on to the objective. Retlaw steps on for a little bit longer, just wants to stop him from getting any more space to be created here. They know where Chinos is thanks to the flare. Beautiful headshot on Barrick to make sure that he's lowered even more so than he already was. Siphon goes up and he has all 4 Calamity Charges, technically 5 in tow, as he bursts Ice Monkey down, but only lowers him to half health. You have to play this very effectively. They even kill Ice Monkey. That's going to be a better look for him. Means that Temper doesn't have to feel pressured to use that reanimate. 3-2 in favor of Tempest team with Incontrol having all 5 of their ults up.
This is kind of a surprise right now. I did
Yeah,
not expect Tempest
I
team
agree.
to be the ones kind of driving force throughout all of this one. But things are going well for them. Again, they maintain enough of their ults going into this. 4 out of the 5. The only thing missing, oh no, it's Flashbang. The most important ult in the game. No, it's fine that you're missing that one of all, right? Even though he's
Capture
13 and
point
2.
spawning in
Good
15
from
seconds.
Retlaw. You're not too stressed about this. Paladins, wow, almost 100k more healing from this Corvus than what you're getting out of the Genos. I mean, it's
5,
maybe understandable
4,
that you're going to
3,
see someone pull out
2,
ahead, but
1.
that's a lot of healing that is separating these two teams. Maybe showcasing where some of the lax is coming from and why Tempest team are in control as much as they are.
Yeah, and it's going to end up looking even worse for them if they don't find a way to hold on against each other's teams. It seems like they're able to at least plug damage into Amadeus. That's what they were looking for. Traffic breach on point. Means Barrett can't stand there, but Ice Monkey is getting cornered by the 2 of them. It's too much to deal with. The Dars to play their combo. My goodness, you want a game cemented for your team? That's how you do it. Use the accursed arm. You don't care what you lose from it because you know you have more to gain than you have to lose. As 27% to 10 is what Tempest team are going to have right now. Ice Monkey is going to try and hold on here. Same thing can be said for Amadeus.
Good setup, good choke through hold as well. Good jump, assert dominance is gonna buy time. Luther just a little off with the ult. That 63% is holding and still in control for Tempest. They gotta be able to figure out how to get back on there. Once that assert dominance wane, it should be easy to start collapsing in on Incontrol.
Already it seems like this is once again the Playtech and Dars show as they move into the back line. The Immortal is enough to keep them alive. Have 99% on the point. They have to do something here. Tuga is in the back. He wants to make Retlaw as uncomfortable as possible, but they already lost their point tank. How much more will they be able to handle? Doesn't seem like it'll be much. Amadeus is able to take most of those shots and get themselves an overtime touch, but no one else is alive to really do much of anything. No one else can really touch. That's going to be all she wrote. Tempest team make this a 2-1 where they are on set point.
I'm gonna have to shout it out. We saw that Retlaw or Walther, whichever one you want to call him, considering well his name is backwards. Either way, really solid on the Strix, and we got to mention that several times. I want to say the unsung hero of all of that really does come down to me as this Andra. I think Playtech throughout this set has had some really solid games, but that might have been the best one so far. I won't be surprised if his damage numbers are pretty high up there, although maybe not the highest. Actually, surprisingly, he's up at the top, just behind the Leon on the other side. But 107,000 damage at the very end during that last mid-fight. He was massive in terms of turning those things around.
Yes.
Set up a good double kill for Temper the first fight. Second fight, he's the one that comes in to turn things around. Even earlier in that game, a couple of really good accursed arms. I think Playtech really did step up to match what the team needed here. But, I mean, look at those slash lines. Everybody looked good. Well,
Yeah,
at least on Tempest.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Everyone did look good on Tempest. I mean, you have a Corvus that is literally undying despite how long that game went on for. I mean, especially on Stone Keep, it felt like Tempest team were losing so many members time and time again because of the game being closer than it probably was, than they probably intended it to be. But still, he didn't even die. 2-0, 31, 6-6, and 18. 18 assists for Playtech as well. 13 and 6, 13 and 7, 14 and 2. I mean, it's hard to argue about which team won, especially when you have the slash lines that you did. It's a beautiful look for Tempest team, an even better opportunity for them to continue holding down the fort. But you mentioned it before, this is not the type of performance you want, especially when you have seeds that are up there and World Championship is right around the corner. The score is already at 3, but I'm sure we still got some plenty of awesome games
Oh, yeah.
for you. Let's see if they can end up closing this one out right after this break. Welcome back to the Paladins Pro Circuit Community Broadcast. Fawn Legend and Goremizer here with you in the Brazilian region as we have Incontrol versus Tempest team. Tempest team currently in the lead over Incontrol after winning Stone Keep. A very, very close set overall. Only time we'll be able to tell if they can end it here or if Incontrols take this one back.
Yeah, that's the again the giant question mark, right? Tempest have looked
Mm,
really solid 2 maps in a row. A couple of slip ups there, I think more so on Stone Keep than what we got to see on Ice Mines with a 4-0.
mm.
But can you keep it up one more map, two more maps if necessary? But realistically, in their eyes, they'd like it to just be one more. And that's sort
Right.
of the question is what their performance is going to be coming up on this next map.
Yeah. And we can head right into the next map as we're ready for picks and bans. You take us right on in, Kresik, as we head to Splitstone Quarry once again. Interesting to see Splitstone Quarry here. I mean, this is a map that people like to go back to. Personally, I believe people like to go back to this map more than they do Jaguar and Bright, honestly. We've seen Splitstone so many times, especially even when it was still in rotation previously. They would always go to this map. Jaguar, Bright out of the way, Stone Keep or Splitstone. It would depend on what the team wanted to do. And I think this map has plenty of versatility on it because you see a buck band there. That's versatility for you in its own right, a character we haven't seen all day.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't expect to see him anywhere other than Splitstone. I feel like this is
Right.
just a good map for him. We've seen a couple of teams. I think one of my favorite comps on this has been like Buck plus Mave plus
Mhm.
just throw in maybe even a tertiary damage. You could throw a Strix or a Victor or someone long range onto there that would work pretty well. And then an off tank or an aggressive tank, I should say, like well, not even aggressive. A Nara on one side, and then a good healer, and you've got a solid composition. I think Tempest doing their homework. This is a map where Buck can get out of hand really quick. And so it is a very specific target ban here. It also controls Incontrol a little bit more often, just locks them down. It's something that they would like to do. And so you keep taking that away. Unfortunately, Fun, there's a lot of good flanks in the game, so they still end up getting this Andrew.
Yeah, Jox's first pick, but Corvus, Genos, both open. Tempest team. What will they go for here? Do you pick the Genos or do you let it slide? You do pick the Genos if you're Tempest team because they said thank you very much. We will take that damage amp. And you have Leon as well. This is the best so far. This is great. Like I can't complain about having Leon and Genos together on the same team. We don't see Leon much, but she's still a very consistent damage dealer. We saw Amadeus pop off last time, and I'm expecting
Yeah.
some good Leon play again.
The only thing I'm shaky about here is looking not just at Tempest team, but what exactly Playtech is going to be bringing into this with the
Mhm.
Buck band Andrew already picked up. It's maybe a little more iffy as to what they can lock in for Playtech to have that same performance we got to see last time, especially in that final round. So Tempest team maybe closer on stilts. But hey, guess what? They lock in the Mave. I was worried no one was going to, and that I'd mentioned her earlier, and then just let her fade into the background the way that she has in a few sets. I love this composition. I'm much on the same ground as you. I think Fernando, very good for Splitstone plus Maeve Leon Genos. It's a very good combo, very good
Mhm.
DPS players. And they have the flexibility here with last pick to be able to go triple DPS if they feel confident in themselves, or to pivot into an off tank, grab something even like a Khan or, well, no, Torvald's banned, something just off tanky, even a Terminus here to make sure they have something to withstand the Inara's gaze.
Well, you got Androxus Corvus, Shaolin, Inara, Victor. All great draft, but it's a questionable to see if Tipp's team how they're going to play this one. They go triple DPS with the Genos, and we've seen this be brought out a lot. They have one of the snipers, and I want to really sort of contest that on the side of In Control, but I'm more so concerned if I'm playing Tipp's team about burning through that health pool. Because, of course, you have Anara, you have 3 DPS, but you have Corvus. He can provide a lot of sustainability through his marks and through his healing.
Yeah, this is going to be again. I don't expect the same disparage. Like we had a large margin between the two healers last time. I mean,
Yes,
100,000
absolutely.
is ridiculous between the two. I expect this to be a little more neck and neck unless someone just is absolutely getting blasted. But with Victor, Shaolin, Andrew, and Nara Corvus, I think even though I like what Tempest team are bringing in, I think at least tier list wise and Control are definitely rocking what they're bringing in, and that might be enough on its own to give them a little bit more of an edge.
Well, the score is 2-1. Can Tipp's team close this out, or will In Control tie this up? Let's head into Splitstone Quarry and check this one out. It seems like everyone has pretty standard talents. Is there anything that stands out to you on the loadout page,
5,
Goremizer, that you
4,
feel like you need to mention?
3,
Nothing that
2,
I've seen
1.
immediately. Everything
Show
seems to be
no
going par for
mercy.
the course, and that's honestly what you'd expect at this point. Although there's always that question of whether or not you want burst mode versus something else on Victor. This is a map that's burst mode through and through. And realistically, it's just been the talent. I think it's just last week, we got to see some shrapnel, and that kind of got my hopes up that maybe it was going to be coming back. The answer is no. Burst mode's here to stay for a little while. Might be, again, something that helps out in control, especially on split stone.
Deus is firing back against Leon right now, puts up the hands. If anything, the reversal is there, but Retlaw still finds that kill. So that's first blood for Tempest team, as they now take the lead in percentage and in bodies that are still remaining to be fighting with. Shaolin wants to peek over the side here, but he gets the kill almost instantly.
Yeah, Dars is feeling, this is a long time ago now, but there was a point where Knessa's scope there would have been perfectly fine in taking that fight, but they zoomed it in a little bit more, and that's the downside that you're going to have. That's not necessarily an angle you want to be holding. I wouldn't be surprised if I see Knessa fall back a little bit more, because that was hyper-aggressive in and of itself. Now that 48% has been matched and passed, Incontrol are back on the phone.
It seems like at least able to hold on to their positionings. No one's really forfeited any, except for Maeve just now against Amadeus, who's brought that a little bit too low. Doesn't realize he's getting shot in the back. Playtech can't escape that scenario. It's a 78% to 57. Tempest are garnering it for themselves. Too many low health bars. Amadeus finds another kill. It's a double for him. Fernando has to go to point trying to stall, see if she can stop him capping any longer. They're going to wait for a little bit before they step on it so they don't cause the overtime, but even still, they're going to cause it anyway. Beautiful shot from Knessa as well to end things for him, as they are trying to stall, following bodies one after the next onto the objective.
Now, the glory of Knessa, you can drop down like this and then teleport right back up into control. Realistically, at least your Maeve, at least you would hope, is winning that matchup. You're not able to get a lot of kills. You're not finding damage here. You're just in a really hyper-aggressive position. I don't know if this is going to work out for Tempest.
It doesn't seem like it's going to either. Gormizer as Incontrol take their first point in the set and even catch the kill on Amadeus. Amadeus gets the kill onto Playtech as he just makes it in. My goodness, the headshots, if anything, he's really popping off here. He's finding what he needs to against these foes, and he's making it work for him.
You know, Fawn, I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot they were running triple DPS there for a second, because I just assumed it was Maeve Knessa. You have a Leon too, like Maeve Leon should be on the ground. That Knessa, like aggressive positioning, look, I love you, but you know, pull back a little bit. I like where your head's at. I like the fact that you just want to get in the action, but you've got this nice long range scope, lots of good damage. I think you can pay and benefit from being right here where you are, right? Find these long range shots and kind of keep your control going at this rate. Fortunately for them, Tempest team haven't been able to apply any of that as of now. With Maeve going down there, Control are going to be able to get around this corner. This is looking like it might be a fast split stone, at least round one, if they keep this pace up.
And the game's going to get paused for a little bit by Redemption here, but it's hard for them to really stop the onslaught that blue team has been able to bring it to them. I mean, it just seems like it's been time and time again where it's been rougher and rougher for them to do anything. They're trying to see if they can find the barrage here, but thanks to the midnight, it counters out a little bit. Harder lines of sight. Beautiful headhunter is going to leave King Kaiser in the dirt. Same thing for Ice Monkey. Shaolin tries to peek, but they're going to push him. They don't want to give him the time to play around that corner. Souza gets brought low, and Amadeus drops down. Tries to see if they can get it, but unnecessary ultimate from Leon, but he wanted to try and get the reset on the ultimate, but now he doesn't have anything.
They're pretty far back now as well. Regrouping seems to be solid for him so far. It's just a matter of being able to figure out how they're going to re-aggress. This is Andro, once again, kind of being a very big driving factor. Good shot from Knessa, good angle as well to be able to find a nice little peek hole to look through. But again, it's this awkward moment. I mean, Andro can come through, maybe make a big splash. Realistically, at this point, I'm particularly looking for
30 seconds.
to kind of open up the door, or just charge up their ults. You can go 1-1 here for Incontrol and be pretty happy with the last mid-fight. Was pretty solidly yours. And you can come into it with a lot of your ults. Barrage almost available. A Curse and Arm just comes up now, so you'll be perfectly fine if you have to wait.
You're already pretty low. The trade things up out 1-for-1 for days. Puts up the hands. The reversal is out. Gets shot right back at him. If anything, they're going to have to chill for a little bit too, because actually in Mind Shop, just 1v1ing all on his own, in control. They're finding the kills. Will they roll this one in? It seems very likely, Gormizer. Seems like they will be able to do that. Leon's gonna have to try and touch, but she finds the kill. But Shaw's rolling it in the whole time. Beautiful dash in, but they get the kill. and no one else was able to do much about that. Genos floated right on over the top, and that leaves Incontrol with a 2-0 against Tempest team. Yes.
This is just an interesting prospect to be in. I mean, after 2 maps of what felt like some pretty solid dominance from Tempest team, I think they just don't get a draft that really suits them that well. I actually expected it's Retlaw here on to the Mave. I expected to be Playtech playing that. I'm a little upset with myself that it took me this long to notice that, but either way, it's one of those things that it feels like not everyone is completely comfortable. It also means that you don't have, you know, the same potential. This Leon last game kind of popped off in certain moments there, but didn't quite, I want to say, bring everything home for them. It feels like this is a similar circumstance where your damage will be fine, you're going to be able to find some control from it, and maybe even this round you might win a nice mid-fight. But I don't know if it's going to translate into the full game unless she has a complete turnaround in terms of performance. So far, in a lot of these fights, Vaughn, it's been real easy to forget there's a Leon here at all.
Right. It hasn't felt like she's quite found the impact that we may have been expecting from her, especially how well things went last game. Seems like they want to start things off with a midnight here. Amadeus around the corner, playing it a little bit back. He's got 30% to 35. Amadeus gets shot up as soon as he moves in, but uses the enlightenment, doesn't find it, but doesn't let it go either. So they're going to have that at least afforded back to him. They try and move out. The Immortal goes through, manages to keep everybody alive by lava as Inara has to step off a point away from the Kinessa. The slow mine is going to be enough, but a Tropic Breach looking for an opportunity to drop it, and they do. They drop it in the back. They try and stop Retlock from going on a tear, but double kill already for the Mave. That's all she wrote for most of Incontrol.
Now they're going to be able to hold on to this. That's 75%. That's the Cursed Arm, though. That's going to turn this around. A double kill for Amadeus. Gets right back in here.
Killing, triple kill.
That's definitely like a Cursed Arm and a Barrage. Like Fernando at that point is just like, well, it's a living. Like there's nothing else much he can do about that after that point, right? Like he just has to accept his fate. It's too much damage to try and do anything against that. Have the Enlightenment once again. The reason I bring that up is because I'm curious to see if Playtech uses it here. It seems like he will. Just taking shots at Inara, not really stopping anything. As of course Fernando's dancing on and off a point, but the fights on the side is where the true magic happens because they lose stars. Kinessa down. Now Amadeus all the way up in high ground. Take control of theirs. They lose their Genos as well. They're taking plenty of shots. Beautiful flick shot directly on the Mave in the back line. They want a piece of Playtech and they get it as they find the kill on him. Next one is going to be Fernando. That's a full-on team wipe, and that means Incontrol make this a 3-0.
This is not a comfortable position to be in if you're Tempest team. Fawn, I don't know about you, but if you can smell that, oh, it's starting to smell like a game 5 at this parade. I mean, Incontrol are so far dominating. Ults at the right time here to be able to come through. Right now, Mark on Andro and the Inara, although it just now shifts over to be on Shaolin as well. Going to be able to continue them getting aggressive. I feel like this is just a slippery slip for Tempest team. With Playtech going down there, it feels like this is going to be a pretty solid transition for Incontrol as long as they can keep up this pace.
They're at least able to stop two guys. Redlaw still maintaining his control over the high ground. Wants to move to the back. Knows where Souza is. Well, doesn't know where Souza is, excuse me. Knows where King Kaiser is and wants to force him for some back, but maybe has to get out of there. Up and over the wall, tossing out daggers at King Kaiser, trying to make it hard for him to just sit there and do what he's doing, which is left clicking and occasionally right clicking. But it's still overall hard for Incontrol to make it back to the card.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult, but I don't know. I don't want to count them out just yet, right? I mean, they've been able to do a lot, and right there you see nice. 2 more kills come out in their favor. Difficult to get back. Impossible for them. They just pop off in the right moments. And again, a Cursed Arm, Seismic Crash, soon enough in Tropic Breach, as well as the Barrage. So many ults coming up around this last corner. Fun. I'm having trouble looking in favor of Tempest team. If they use any ults here, yeah, you stay alive in the game, but you lose them for the next mid fight. There's the Immortal. They're just trying to stay alive.
Charm in space in the mine shaft, finds one. Tuga goes down, Headhunter out. The crits are there, catches him through a crack in the wall, if anything, and he finds that kill on the Ice Monkey. 2 of them down out of the fray. Playtech, as mentioned, get a kill on the Souza as King Kaiser goes down soon after that. Amadeus is trying to fight, at least see if he can get a pick, take somebody with them, but they're going to say no way to that. Make sure they kill Amadeus as well. Playtech, plenty of credits in the back pocket, and good damage is being found into him. But speaking of damage, can we see the damage charge presently? Because I'm curious, how is Leon doing now? She's actually second. We were talking about how she wasn't doing. She didn't feel like she was doing that much, but she's actually second in the damage charge.
Yeah, a lot of poke that can come through in there, but Playtech stay on a 5 streak, burning hot overall, so keeping things rolling for his team. But again, Can you keep that going? Ults available for them. There's the Barrage to be dropped down. That's a good pickup for Playtech. Maybe he's going to be the marquee player in this to turn things around.
Too good. Gets shot in the back. Playtech is there, uses the Enlightenment, but decides to let it go wide because of the fact that he doesn't want to feed that into Androx's reversal to the wall, but brings it back down almost instantly. He's able to live for a little bit longer. They can make it back to the car. Earthen Guard is up, but Androxus is still pretty low. Can Ice Monkey touch again? He does. And just to reset, has to back off. Shaolin has to be the one to touch now. Withdraws onto the point. Makes it harder for them to really do much. They killed King Kaiser. Tuga down. Amadeus drops on the objective, but the wall goes up. They're keeping Inara alive a little bit longer. As in the back, Corvus almost gets Playtech, but that's not going to be enough. They take care of Ice Monkey soon after that. No one else is able to touch on the side of Incontrol Nation. They finally get their first point on the side of Tempest team. I hope that's a way for them to sort of stop the endless momentum that Incontrol seem to have.
Well, this is an interesting moment now to come into it. You lose a lot of ultimates right there at the end if you're in control. You do manage to charge back up your Cursed Arm as well as now the Seismic Crash. But you're missing Entropic Breach, Barrage, Heat Haze there. 3 big ones. And admittedly, they're not really keeping up there, or too far ahead of you, I should say, for Tempest team. But they're closer to getting more of their ultimates online as opposed to in control. So that might play a big role here. The comeback mechanic enabled is about as normalized as you can get of a fight late game into it. But unfortunately, in control, they have the economy in their favor, as well as, I would argue, 2 massive team fight ults in their favor. Cause a lot of trouble for Tempest team here. Temper is going to run straight to the point because you need to use this comeback mechanic while you can uncontested. Get as much percent as possible.
You also have your Fernando ultimate as well, so that means that you have an even better option of locking it down against the Inara with the frontliners dancing in and off, on and off of it, in and out of the objective. They try to make things work for them. They use the Immortal as well on the side of Fernando to try to keep themselves alive. That's how the little mine right there. As they get a good shot on the King Kaiser. Comeback mechanic is what Incontrol has to keep in mind that they have, which is they can't dawdle on getting back to the objective here.
Good snipe from Canessa. Look, I'm watching that percentage, 81% already. A snipe from Canessa can be solid as much as they want, but it's the fact that they're in control so heavily here for Tempest. They're not going to be able to get it there. And that might have been a window of opportunity closing. If in control continue to just hold a grip on this one, really get a good Cursed Arm here. He might just be able to seal the deal.
Beautiful block from the Fernando, but he actually pushes past him, and allows them to get that kill. They try and get a kill on Ice Monkey as well. They do find it, but no one else is able to touch. There is no overtime, and they manage to make this a 3-2 in favor of In Control still, but they're at least able to fight back against the seamless momentum that they've had. This is a stop to that, Tempest team says, as they lose a couple members, but manage to trade out some of their own.
Maybe this is the moment. Tempest team turn it around, sweep through. 3-1? No, there's no way. This is going to be 5 games with In Control win. Obviously, that's the only way that this could happen. Well, we'll have to see. Tempest team, pretty interesting position to continue moving forward. Not really moving right now. They're stalled out midpoint. Dark's going to go down. And this feels, I don't know, Fawn, this feels par for the course. It just feels like this is going to happen. They get that point. Maybe, well, let's just say more or less. It's boosted by the comeback mechanic. And they continue that pressure. Can you have the pop-offs from Mave? Apparently, yes, that's a double kill. And they're going to go.
Yeah, Redlaw already with the double. It's a Tempest team. Have the numbers advantage here. It's really... The sniper is trying to see what they can find, but teleports out the instant that they know that the Shaolin is there. He is in a bad spot, and they know he's there. Lifts him up over the wall. Tuga is going to get taken out here. Another quick pause, if anything, is it seems like Shaolin was able to overextend a little bit too far. Made it a big issue for him on the tail end of that, or what could be the beginning of a tie for Tempest team. They lost their Shaolin, and it made it a lot harder for them to fight this.
Now it's just maintaining this. Ice Monkey slow, not dead just yet. Nice little hop there to make sure he stays alive, and a good wall thereafter. As you can see, that healing's not doing enough. It's going to be a kill. No, Super goes down. Even if they get the kill on Ice Monkey, doesn't feel like it's a lot. 50 seconds left. That's not a lot of time here. And with Playtech going down there, I don't want to say things are slipping completely out of control here for Tempest, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as dominant or as hopeful as we had thought. Still in Control's game to lose.
It seems like everyone's just chilling. they're just waiting to see any sort of space being made by Tempest team. And the minute they do, you see it right now. They're trying to push up 2 by Lava Shaolin's playing around the corner. He has to peek, but Amadeus goes down. They lost one on the defense here, as now they see that as an opportunity to move in on the side of Tempest team. Maeve moves in, looks for Tuga, tries to find the shots, but Tuga finds the better ones as Kanessa moves in and manages to trade things out. Playtech does manage to get King Kaiser as well, and now they can make their way back to the objective and push it forward. As you see, it's rounding the corner here. Boy Grip goes out onto Amadeus. He gets brought so low, and the cauterize is huge because he doesn't get healed back that much as well. They have so much of a good position on Ice Monkey. He's in such a bad spot, but a beautiful in-person arm in the back line. They don't go for the kill here. They let him roam where he wants to, and they find 2 kills off of that.
Be able to continue this pressure too. I mean, this Maeve isn't really making a lot of progress. Ice Monkey is dancing around, making sure to keep things from moving forward. And yeah, they're not just going to be able to find the lockdown they need to for Tempest in order to get back to that payload. So things are more normalized. 11 and 12 for Let Law, 12 and 14 for Playtech. A lot of good performances in the last round, but they really, really need to jump forward one last time. This needs to be a really, well, not even one last time, I guess one more round overall if they can get the capture and conversion. And their performance just leaps forward.
Capture points
And I expect Tempest team to be able to continue moving forward.
Yeah,
I don't know, just realistically right now, Fawn, I just don't know if they have it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have it either. I mean, the score is 3-2. They were able to capture and win that mid fight. The Fernando ultimate, of course, huge value always. No matter when it is you actually use it, it allows them to stay on the point for a little bit longer, and that's what we saw happen when he was fighting against that Anara. It means that Anara didn't have much of a chance to really move on and off the point as much as she wanted to, but a little bit before that round ended up ending,
4,
Amadeus getting
3,
into the back like that
2,
shouldn't have happened, right? Like,
1.
or am I just crazy? Like, like should he have been able to make it back there? He was low. I guess nobody was watching the flank like that. He got back there pretty easily and killed their support, which is what allowed them to defend that.
I mean, it is, yeah, very easy, I think, for him to slip through the line. So far, this Andro has been kind of set-defining for a lot of these moments. Last game for Tempest, this game for Incontrol. Maybe something either worth banning or trying to first pick the Tempest team to try and win it all. Incontrol, just the distance. Do something here. Use Ice Monkey early, Fawn. That could be a lot of pressure they lose on the objective.
Law Amadeus trade things out 1-for-1 as 24% is what Tempest team have. Amadeus, of course, is going to just not opt to go for the fight here. There's too many people. He knows people are going for him, but he does make it back to his team's side. And all 3 charges, Fernando has to move out of line of sight. Not only really be able to use 1 barrage charge, but he just opts to go for another one on Fernando just to keep him low. Kanessa finds a good shot onto Victor. Means he won't be able to peek that angle again. These fights are breaking out all over the place. And the point is still being garnered for Incontrol Nation. Trying to even things up here. They managed to get the kill on the Tuga, though. Might make it a little bit harder for him, especially after they end up losing one of their members when they have such a substantial lead on percentage.
Oh, good daggers right now. That lock could be. He is all be all for this team. Also, these trades right now on the dais, if he steps up big, that could be all he will. 57 to 55. That's the first one to go down on. I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. Now the accursed arm charged up.
Ooh, yeah, he knows he wants that. He wants to find the hit, and he does. Only uses 2 accursed arm charges because he has accomplished his objective. There is no healer available for Tempest team. They have to find a way to touch. They have to dance on and off at this point. Will they be able to? Nessa's the first one to fall, but they get a kill because of that as well? That's crazy to me. They're able to make that work in a good trade, 1-for-1. It allows them to at least stay in the fight for a little bit longer. Genos is here, so are the rest of the members of Tempest team that were just respawning. They're able to fight. Amadeus is back, though. They're back around to Electric Boogaloo through time and space, go up to the high ground, but no one was able to touch. It looks like Fernando's foot is almost there. It's on the very edge. They weren't able to stall that one out for their team, and now we're going to a game 5. There's no stats for this game, but my goodness, they were just able to bounce, to completely almost clean sweep them. I mean, it was hard for Tempest team to fight back against that.
Yeah, there were a couple of moments where you got to see greatness from Tempest team, but not enough that really, I think, collapsed and solidified themselves as a team. I think moving forward, and so far, fun. This has been back and forth. I don't know who to bet on going into the next map. Theoretically, Tempest team, loser's choice. They get to decide where we're going. They also get the power of first pick. I'm looking at this Androxus. There's a lot of other things like Torvald's been banned, Makoa's been banned, things that have maybe changed throughout this set that are affecting things. But at the end of the day, this Andro has been the factor, the winning factor for a lot of these team fights. And I think that he's going to be a hot commodity next game. Whoever has first pick, if he's not banned, I almost want to see him scooped up immediately because otherwise it might be a loss.
Also, we've been seeing the Genos be let through quite a bit as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I still think even if you do end up winning it, whether he's on your team or on the opposing team, you want to stop that still. Like it's still damage amp you don't want to have in the game. It's still problematic that you have to keep in mind that you have to fight back against this, that you have to fight back into a damage amping team. And it's hard to do that. It doesn't matter if you win or lose the game, that deserves another ban, if anything. But we're gonna head into picks and bans, and the final map, it seems like it's going to be Shattered Desert. Let's get right into it as we see what both teams are going to draft for the final game of the set.
Love me some Shattered Desert. It's different, and
Heck yeah.
that's realistically where it comes through. I don't know what to expect on this one. Although, hey, I'm going to go back and double down. That Andro would be pretty solid here, and I think is still a pretty good pickup. But we've seen Eevees, Maves, a lot of flank, merry-go-round style team fights in this. We've seen Vivian, Victor's, snipers have a lot of control here. Tanks maybe don't mean the most on this side of the map, and so I'm interested to see how these two teams tackle it. Tempest team specifically, if they go first pick here. I've been leaning on this Andro because he's won the last 2 games, maybe all games this set. I'm kind of blanking on it, but they go for the Makoa. It's the first time he's been available. He's been banned a couple games in a row. And hopefully that doesn't end up coming back to bite him.
Yeah, Makoa is going to be the first pick here, and is the first pick in the final set, which is not what I would expect to see. I would have expected some consistency to see. Keep banning him, keeping him out of the pool in these drafts, but they want to go with it. And Tempest team are in the right to pick that Makoa. Androxus, Corvus on the side of Incontrol, but Genos is still open. Who do Tempest team draft here to make it work for him? Buck is a beautiful pick on Shattered Desert, and a pick that we've seen consistently enough. Makoa, Buck, Genos. I'm scared if I'm in control.
Yeah, this is a dangerous composition to be jumping into. Makoa, Buck, Genos, as you had highlighted, a lot of damage from the Buck. Look, let's talk about it. Headshots for Buck. 1300 on base, so then you get a luminary boost. All of a sudden, let's say I'm Cassie, Corvus, Andro, even this Nando. I'm in danger if I'm getting hit by that, and not the fun kind of danger that can come through, like I guess a bungee jump, but the kind where your bungee jumping cord has been cut and you just plummet down to the bottom. Right there's no safety in this one, and for Tempest team, I'm excited for this that comes through. I mean, he's got a lot of good headshot damage that can come into it. Maybe it's been taken down a little bit because I remember a nerf coming through, 1 extra shot, a little less damage. But either way, boy, hits like a truck.
Yeah, it seems like as they round things out on the side of Tempest team, you have the Rom and you have the Leon. This is the final draft for Tempest team in this set as Androxus, Corvus, Cassie, Fernando are going to be picked up on the side of In Control. That's a very, very good draft. And we've seen Corvus out heal the Genos time and time again, but the true story, as always, is in that damage amp. Khan is going to be the final pick for In Control Nation here. It's interesting to sort of see that he's really the only counter to Rom. There's nothing really else that stops him. I mean, big game, of course, but it's the sprint that people have to keep in mind is what's going to keep him in and alive and out of most of these fights. So I'm interested to see this game, honestly. Whose draft do you like more in the final set, Gore?
Oh, as much as I'd like to say that In Control maybe are fighting back to this, I don't know. Andro is the one shining bright star, I
Yep.
think, on their comp, along with the Corvus, but
Yeah.
I see Genos, Buck, Makoa, Rom, and even though Leon's been hit or miss, I think she's been performing well enough here that it shouldn't be too much of an issue to make this work out here. I think Tempest team should have this. But, Shattered Desert, this is one of those maps that even if you have a stronger comp, which in my mind, I think Tempest team do, it's all about how you tackle this fight because there's so many different just nuances that can happen and ways that In Control can change the way they approach it. Hey, we could not only be in for a 3-3, but Tempest, honestly, even with a stronger comp, might fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. The final game of the set in the Brazilian region. Let's head right into it as we close things out on Shattered Desert. And Storm of Bullets, of course, for the off-tank Khan, and Aegis for Fernando. How do you feel like this is gonna go, Gormizer? I'm gonna be more specific.
5,
Fernando, of course, is
4,
gonna stand on point.
3,
He's their point tank. He's
2,
gonna be the one controlling the objective. Does he just decide to not do that because of how aggressive Tempest team's comp is? I can't imagine they don't just run in there. He must have to ignore the objective at some point.
Yeah, this is the one that's going to be, I think, difficult to tackle for every frontline. And this is always the one, I think, we talk, similar to Ascension Peak, you've got these statues, but, adversely to Ascension Peak, that point is incredibly small. And so trying to just stand on the objective is difficult for anybody. Playtech already off to a good start. This is feeling good for Tempest.
Seems like Playtech getting that kill. First blood on the map of Shattered Desert. It's going to force the rest of Incontrol to sort of back up. Retlaw's ready to bring the pain. He slides right on in, looking for that damage, looking for an opportunity to get the kill on the Souza as well. He knows he's trying to get out. They do manage to find that too. They now have no healer. So much percentage on the point and in the game for Tempest team. No one's really been able to touch on the side of Incontrol. All they've garnered is 6%, and they lost a healer. So everything's sort of staggered out. They even get Amadeus in the back, on his way back to the objective. Redlaw with another double again. They are just consistently killing these guys. It's hard for them to fight back, and you can see that. Look at Catsy getting knocked around like it's a bounce house. Oh my goodness, are you serious?
This is just control. I mean, this is just good. And like you said, Bounce House, of all things. Look, I'm going to be honest. I think of a lot of things that I think bugs. Bounce House used to be one of them, but it hasn't been for a little while now. It's solid. And look at this. I mean, this is just pressure. Look, I'm starting to see why Tempest team chose this map. They're playing pretty well on it. Finally, with Playtech going down, though, I think that slowed them down just a little bit, but it doesn't seem to have gotten the memo. Redlaw's just going forward.
What is this? What is happening? What? We had a close set this entire game, and look at this man only out. They didn't give this to him sooner. If this was the performance he was gonna have, look at him. He is on a 10 streak. If anything, completely savage. 9-0. Redlaw has been popping off on this Leon, dude. I mean, you would have thought they would have given it to him sooner if they knew he was holding back this much power. What was he only using 3%? He felt the need to go final form now on Shattered Desert. I mean, come on, man. Ice Monkey gets Void Grip right around the corner. They know that he's there. He spins in. They have the Ancient Rage. That's what he wants. He wants to use that through time and space as well. My goodness, man. Incontrol, they are not living up to their name right now. They can't take control of anything that Tempest team have put in forward. Their best foot forward at that. Oh my goodness, that's the first round already said and done. 2-0.
All right, give them to me, Chris. What's the numbers looking like? This guy's insane. 14 streak, 10, 0, and 4. Done and dusted. You know what? Call it here. I don't know. There's still a lot of chance for bounce back. Don't take this wrong, because we've seen rounds like that happen. They can go fast. Redlaw doesn't care about your shields. He doesn't care about your CC. He doesn't care what's going on, anything on the side of Incontrol. He's finding a lot of these. I don't know why we had Playtech on Leon last time around, and being able to come through. I think this would have been able to come through and look much better for Redlaw the way things are going. Maybe they forgot to trade. Maybe something else is going on. Maybe they had some different cons coming in, but he's looking solid here. And I'm going to be honest, Fawn, if you get a performance like that at 14 streak now, you keep this going, and yeah, it's going to be a nice 4-0 for you. I think I understand why they chose this map, Shattered Desert, for the final one, because they know it better than any other.
Has capitalism. Just holding on to it for now. Ron moves all the way into the back line. They know that he's there. They might forego the point and just go for it. They use the Cataclysm in the back. Beautiful overpower on the Redlaw. Yeah, I would do the same thing if I were you in control. Get this man out of the game, even if it's not for only but a couple seconds. 58% for Incontrol. They have comeback mechanic. But Rom is still alive, still available to fight here. When he gets that disengage bolt, it might be a little bit harder, but Temper just trying to live long enough to allow his team to make it back to point, and they actually do manage to do so.
Playtech, unfortunately, going to go down, so it's still 4v5, and like you said, comeback mechanic working wonders here for Incontrol. Practically gifted them this point. They've gotten a couple of key kills. As long as he can keep the stars now pressuring it out, if they can get a couple of kills, they can turn this around. 99-15 is difficult to overcome.
They end up using the Void Grip onto the Fernando. They kill so many in the back line. They get another as well. Incontrol have just clapped back as hard as Tempest team did the first round. They get their point cemented. They get us a 1-2, and they are not stopping Darge. But look, brings in Amadeus, but he says that's what I was looking for, and King Kaiser finds the kill on him in that brief moment of vulnerability from Akoa. They are now have retaken the situation that we saw them in last game and put the Uno reverse card down, said no you instead, and now Tempest team are stuck where their spawn is.
Maybe this is one of those games that either the first round just ends up being I don't want to say fluke, but Tempest team just get off to a hot streak and there's no way to recover for Incontrol. Or maybe we're just in one of those fights where one team punches the other as hard as they physically can, and then the other team punches right back. All of that is going to be determined by how Tempest team holds this defense. If they go up 3-1, you can be certain that it was just their performance, their play style. That's a double kill for Retlaw. And again, as long as you keep finding those consistently, which is not easy to do against this confident Control has, but if you keep doing it, I think Retlaw is kind of defining Leon in this meta right now. I mean, making a stellar performance so far, even though he's had a couple of deaths this round.
Kaiser, of course, holding this little underpass right here, trying to push up with the cart. The rest of his team in control. They have 4 ultimates online. It's good enough for them. They stop the ROM sprint, which is what they want. Try to see what they can find. A cursed arm goes in the back, but he blows it all onto the ROM here. But there is still low health pools on the side of Tempest team. No one opportunity through time and space, manages to go wide if anything, and Hydroxus tries to move out, but Tempest team take advantage of that and manage to get the kill. Beautiful Enlightenment, chunks down so many. They find the damage and they'll find the turnaround for Incontrol, for Tempest team, excuse me, to take this away from Incontrol. That Enlightenment hit 3 people, it didn't kill anybody, but the damage was what they needed.
Yeah, all that matters is to hit 3 people. That's sick in and of itself. And so good plays coming down. Tempest team buy themselves a lot of time. 30 seconds remaining. You just heard the announcer. Paying off a little bit more. They can burn this time. It's close though, Vaughn. If they are willing to invest in ults, although they've already invested maybe too much on the side of Incontrol, they might be able to convert this one just to keep it tied up.
9, 8,
Byron at least had it for
6,
Nice Monkey's trying to make his way back to the cart.
3,
Seems like he's made it there. He's going to go for the touch of overtime, obviously. Because Dar's just holding it down for his team, but he didn't. He touched way too early. Gets Void Grip, can't make it back to the cart, and that means it's 3-1 in favor of Tempest team. They're looking unstoppable right now. 72,000 damage for Leon. I mean, that is leaps and bounds over both of the DPSs on the side of Incontrol.
Look, I don't know. It was a 10-0-4 round for Retlaw first time around. Now 14-4-6. So what is that? A 4-2-2 slash line in round 2? I don't know if I can back this one completely. At least not yet for Tempest team. Comeback mechanic once again there for Incontrol, and they have the Immortal ready for them. So they have just enough in my eyes to try and maintain this game a little bit longer and try to equalize things up.
3, 2,
I think it is still favorable. You're only 1 point away. Tempest team are theoretically going to be able to find one cap and then get there, but it has to be a mid fight and it has to be pretty solid, especially at this point with the double comeback there for Incontrol. It's going to be very difficult to completely isolate them and lock them down without them getting a lot of percentage.
It seems like Rom is he wants to start things off with his team, uses the Cataclysm and starts off the last round win in the very beginning. They get the overpower on him as well. Ancient Rage, they kill Fernando though. They're looking for an opportunity to go crazy here. They find 2 kills. Timber is the only one that got traded out. Alacrity going crazy. Retlaw in the back. The skills are too much for them to handle as they find plenty of ways to slide to the left, slide to the right. Retlaw finds plenty of kills for him to allow his team to make themselves known in this Brazilian region as it comes down to the World Championship. Gets the kill on Fernando. Pack it up, boys, because Tempest team take this set by a storm, dude.
And, you know, Vaughn, you got to look at this. I mean, that was a team that has, what, 1 win in Phase 2? We're in Week 14, Week 15? Like, we've been going for a long time. Like, we're talking August since we started. And they have been able to find themselves another one here. That, in and of itself, is monumental. But again, as what you said, even better, getting the hot hand at the very end. You make it this distance, and you're finally right before able to go to, you know, these championships and put your name out there and maybe even make the rise in a bracket. You're going to be able to come through and find a lot of pressure. Playtech, I think, very big there, but obviously we have to look at it. Retlaw, 87,000 damage, 40,000 more than anyone on his team, and 30,000 more than anybody on Incontrol. Really solid for Tempest to have a player like that. I mean, he popped off when he needed to at 17-4.
Yeah, 3-2 and 24, 3-8, 3-4 and 14 on the side of Tempest team. I mean, it is hard to argue against performances like that. You had a couple of them going negative, but even still, we mentioned it already, but why not mention it again? Rhett lost 17-4 and 8. His Leon was definitely monstrous to deal with on Shattered Desert, and it makes it that much more dangerous when you think about it in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing that's frightening, right? You have to start thinking
Hmm.
about it. One more week of regular play that's going to be coming through, and we'll be broadcasting that next week. But then you have what, a week after that? Maybe not. Oh, yeah, exactly. 1 week
Yeah,
after that,
one week
in
after.
order to figure out what you're going to do and how you are going to be able to win. We are very close to those championship games, and so there's a lot of pressure, I think, on these teams to look well. There's also some pressure on the top teams. Maybe you're trying to keep some strats pocketed to make sure that you have them at the right time when you get to like a finals, let's say. And so we'll have to watch how these next few games go because they are pretty indicative of what we can expect to see in a couple weeks.
Those are all the games we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else as well. You have plenty of more Paladins gameplay that will be upcoming, especially tomorrow when you tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern to watch more and more Paladins professional gameplay. Thank you guys so much on behalf of me, Core Miser, Kresnik, running production. We all love and appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning into the Paladins Pro Circuit. Kres, you can close us out. Bye, guys.